1, 2, I need one more. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah, we win. Cool. Okay, who would choose XenServer over VMware or Hyper-V with the 600 pages ebook from Aiden? Still, but I need to convince you. Okay, I'm not trying to. Today I will not be trying to convince you to love XenServer. Just make up your own mind. What I want to try to do is talk about the features of XenServer and why you should consider it, and then we'll see next year if you have done it and you will love XenServer like I do. I think it's the best hypervisor ever. What I'm not saying is that if you're not going to have a problem with XenServer at all. I mean, Citrix will make sure that if you do updates, you will run into problems. I know at least Arjan will. One of the biggest problems of XenServer now is, I think, quality in updates. So if you're running XenServer and it is stable, try to keep it like that. Don't do updates and wait for someone else to do it. Just see what happens. I did talk to some of the developers for XenServer, and they are aware of this. And what you're seeing in the last couple of months is that there are no major releases anymore. So I'm kind of hoping that it's because they are doing a lot of more tests. We'll have to see with the next update. What's important to start with, I see some people thinking that Citrix stopped with XenServer and they handed it out to Apache, just like they did with CloudStack. That's not really the case. There's the hypervisor Xen, Project Xen, and there's the management product XenServer. Citrix gave the Project Xen hypervisor to the Apache community, so it's now an open source project, and we will probably see a lot more development in that. And Citrix will continue to build on XenServer with the support from Citrix. So we should be seeing some more of this. So the biggest hypervisor, I think we can all agree that VMware now is the biggest hypervisor, and that Hyper-V is growing strong with all the marketing from Microsoft. We're seeing a lot of Hyper-V, a lot of VMware customers moving to Hyper-V, probably sponsored by Microsoft, but who cares? And XenServer as a third.
But you're not counting the servers which you work by Amazon or somewhere.
No, but I will get to that. You're right in the moment. It's not just about numbers in servers and installations. It's about people who are loving VMware over Hyper-V and over XenServer. The fun thing in this is that when we look at costs, things are different. XenServer is the cheapest hypervisor there is. It's a good hypervisor with a lot of features. So it's kind of strange that the most expensive hypervisor is also the biggest hypervisor. When we are talking about costs, I'm talking about costs including management. I mean, VMware has a free hypervisor. Hyper-V is sort of free, but if you want to do proper management, you need management tools, and then you start paying. So again, the world's greatest, like Nisha said, the world we are probably living in is private clouds, data center, customer side. But if we look at it in a different way, and we look at the cloud, things are different. Xen powers the world's largest cloud. It's not XenServer, but what we are seeing is that a lot of Xen customers in the cloud are moving to XenServer just to be able to get some support of a vendor for their hypervisor. XenServer powers 80% of cloud platform clouds. That's true and a bit marketing because obviously cloud platform is a Citrix product and XenServer is a Citrix product. They are powering 4 out of 5 of the largest cloud vendors. And over 1 billion in cloud services revenue. I think in the cloud, Xen is the biggest hypervisor there is, bigger than VMware. I mean, there's no cloud provider paying for a hypervisor. Bigger than Hyper-V, although Hyper-V is growing with Azure.
What is, in your opinion, the reason why this Xen installed base? And I must say that most people which love VMware actually love Xen as well. For example, me, I think that's great hypervisor. Yeah? And when I will do cloud stuff on my own for my company, I will do Xen. Why Citrix cannot take this basis of the people which have Xen and use Xen and put it in the product which is competitive with Microsoft or to compete to Microsoft and VMware?
I think the biggest problem there is the relationship between Citrix and Microsoft. I mean, we are now seeing that Citrix will stop working on Citrix application streaming and move to FV. If I was Citrix, I would push XenServer, but they are not doing it. Even the new course material, which is kind of secret, but it's based on Hyper-V and not XenServer. So Citrix for Xen Desktop 7, they will push Hyper-V and not XenServer. If you look at the XenServer product pages on the Citrix website, you will see that they are now positioning it more as a cloud hypervisor than a normal data center or VDI hypervisor. Why? I guess money, but I don't have that information. Maybe one of the CDPs they probably can share that. If we look at the editions of XenServer, I won't go into all the editions and all the prices, but if we look at the free version of XenServer, there are a lot of free features available. So we can do that's on that. We can do clustering. In XenServer we call it pools, but we can do clustering in the free version. That is not possible with VMware because you need decentralized for it. It is possible with the free Hyper-V version, but then you would need a cluster manager to manage it. So you would need, I think you would need SCVMM to pay for it. Things like live migration are also available in the free version. So it's a complete stack. It's not only free with some basic features, but it's a complete stack within the free version. And in the commercial versions, you will get Citrix support, which is also not possible in the free version. So if you want support, you need a paid version. And you get more and more features, but I won't go into detail on which features are in which. Now, right about this time, I need to stop with the marketing and go into eStyle and show you some more technical detail about XenServer. I will show you some demos afterwards. And I will start with why I love XenServer. And the simplest thing about this is that it is quite simple. You don't need all kinds of management tools and features to manage XenServer. The only thing you need is your virtualization host, install XenServer on there, the database for clustering, for management, it's all in the hypervisor. It's a master multi-slave model, so the database is synchronized over all the hosts. So if one host fails, you create another master server, master XenServer, and it will perform all the cluster actions and management actions. If we look at VMware and Hyper-V, we would need a hypervisor host, we would need a database server, we would need a management server. Of course, you can consolidate that. I already see Aiden shaking his head. I was hoping for that. Some kind of load balancing, and we need a console. And of course, we need a console for XenServer as well. What this means is that when we run into problems, and we need to do disaster recovery, we would need a Windows layer, a Windows OS layer, a database layer, and a management server. So disaster recovery is much more simpler in XenServer than in Hyper-V or VMware. Because you only need the hypervisor host, the database with all the metadata in your storage. So, if I ran into problems at my customer site with XenServer, most of the times it's configuration. People not reading the admin guide because it's a simple product, you don't need to read the admin guide, everyone gets it. And then they run into problems. And there are some simple steps you can do to make sure that you won't run into problems with XenServer. And most of them are related to DOM0, the management domain, which handles all the tasks, all the drivers for XenServer. You need to give it some more memory. By default, it has enough memory to host a couple of VMs. But if you're doing VDI or more targets on your cluster, you need to give DOM0 more memory before it runs out and starts swapping and then it slows down. Virtual networking, as with all hypervisors, virtual networking is using virtual switches and is using CPU for packet handling. So you have to keep that in mind. And one of the most important things there is check your drivers. And not once, not twice. Check your drivers, and every time you update your firmware, check if your drivers work with that firmware. I've seen a lot of VDI cases that are slow, performance is slow, VDI drop connections, just simply because of faulty network drivers.
But you mean drivers in virtual machine or drivers on the XenServer?
On the XenServer itself,
okay.
Physical network. So the machine is just using virtual network drivers.
Yeah.
Don't install management specs, and especially HP management specs. I don't know if you ever run into problems with that.
No comment.
Okay. So let's say yes. And again, DOM0 is important. If you lose DOM0, you lose all the ability to manage your cluster, manage your VMs. And if it starts queuing, it will build up the queues and eventually it just dies. And then your VMs will lose their connection.
So how do you assign more memory to DOM0?
I don't have the actual, it's a command line configuration. But I don't have it right here. I can look it up for you if you want. But it's on the first page of the admin guide, I guess.
So there are guidelines like if you have this much memory in your host, do this much to DOM0, or is it dependent upon the workload?
The default amount of memory is somewhere around 2900 megabytes, and maximum, I guess, is 3200. So just assign maximum memory. It will cost you 300 or 400 megabytes of memory. So just be safe and check your BIOS settings, especially C state and HP power management settings. C states, I think it's the best practice for every hypervisor to just disable them. But XenServer seems to have a bit more issues with C states than any other hypervisor right now.
Not on the latest version.
And not on the latest version anymore. Says Arjan, and I know he's worked out a lot of issues. So. I think if you 6.1 is the latest version with about 21 patches, and now it's stable.
24.
They released on last week. So I think if you change all this and you take proper care of your drivers and DOM0, and you don't do too many updates if you don't need them, you should be safe. And you
just quickly,
should be
you
starting.
recommend not using the virtual.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
It's Or you just need to monitor it?
I don't hear it.
Sorry? Can you go back to the, you said virtual networking means some server CPU. So does that mean that you recommend working with the old networking model?
What you can do is use SRIOP.
Could somebody please repeat my question?
Does this OpenV switch while since XenServer 6.0, his question was if this means in your second point, if do you have any experience with OpenV switch, how this changes the CPU usage of the
The problem with DOM0 CPU is that you can't offload your network packet handling to the network card. If you start using a OpenV switch, you're still doing CPU-based packet handling. And I think the issue is there. And I know there are some new hardware technologies that would make it possible to virtually upload those packets to the NIC, but I don't think XenServer is supporting that. And it's kind of new. Yeah.
So one more question regarding the management packs. How do I do some basic hardware monitoring, like smart status of my hard disk? So when will probably my hard disk will fail, how do I do that with XenServer without the management packs?
There are management packs for System Center Operation Manager, but I have never used it, so I don't really know what kind of information you get. And you can run XenTop and Top on the XenServer console.
Yeah, but this doesn't give me any information about my hard disk, for example, about my CPU, temperature, all this stuff which is coming from my hardware.
There are management packs for the hardware vendors, and on the performance steps you can see which VM is using how many disk handles or disk items.
Well, actually, you can use Inside Manager for that.
But the recommendation is that we don't use it.
It has had some issues, serious issues with installing the DOM0, but the latest versions I didn't try them because I don't have a good feeling about them.
I've seen issues with HP management packs that they are working for a couple of weeks and they reboot their hosts and everything is working. And then suddenly you reboot your XenServer, every single one of them, and they just stop booting.
It would never be best practice to install anything on a hypervisor, so it's best practice that it was part of the API, that you get all those stuff.
I would say it's a black box and don't touch it, but if HP releases special tools for XenServer, you would expect it to work.
You can get a lot of information from the ELO management, but then you have to go
but nothing which is really operational. No. Nothing like CPU temperature, fan, RPMs, smart status of the hard disk, nothing like that.
It's an ELO, that's right, but you don't have a central FM. So,
no. But you have to go to the server itself and check it.
You are not finished, right?
Yeah. Too much, okay?
I need to continue, but let's talk afterwards. Maybe we can write a blog post about it. Okay, there are some hidden features in XenServer. Memory management. I know VMware is basing some of the features of XenServer about memory management. This is an advanced version, and it's only doing ballooning like on VMware. But it will only kick in when you have used all of your memory. So a lot of people are using XenServer and don't know that these kind of features exist because they don't overcommit on memory and it won't kick in then. So know that it's there. You can use it, especially for VDI scenarios. It works great. Quality of service on disk, CPU, and network. Disk and CPU work with a slider like this. So you have 8 steps in which you can assign a priority for a VM. And then when it starts queuing, it will just handle the queue based on these numbers. I haven't seen anyone using this, but I think it's a great feature for bigger environments. For the this QoS by default it's off. It's in every version of XenServer, even the free one, but you need to enable it with this command line. Don't try to remember it. I will share the slides. Within XenServer, I think we are seeing the easiest cluster management and adding servers to the cluster with pool creations. The only thing you need to do is configure your networking on a pool level, configure your storage, configure your delegation for user delegation and management. And after this, the only thing you need to do is add servers to that cluster. XenServer will take care of all the configuration you have done on the first host. It kind of works like host profiles on VMware. Aiden, I don't know if Hyper-V has something like this.
To do what?
How the configuration when you add a server to a cluster.
To do what?
How the configuration of network and storage.
We do it on each host. I do it by PowerShell script, so one mouse click, my host is configured. On the host itself, or if I'm using VMM, I point VMM at the ILO or draft card of the new server. Go have coffee or lunch, come back and everything's done.
Okay. So, just like this. Some simple steps. Configure it once, add a new server to the pool, and it will configure the new server and everything works. XenServer.next, I call it. It could be named XenServer 7, but everyone is saying .next on all versions, so I call it .next. If you look at the current architecture of XenServer, everything on the management layer is in DOM 0. So the drivers for networking, storage are all in DOM 0. So if anything starts queuing up in there or crashing, all the VMs and all the cluster management will eventually fail. There's another problem with DOM 0, and that it's 32 bits only. So drivers from Fusion.io are, for example, are 64 bits. You can't use Fusion.io cards on XenServer right now, and they're losing a lot of market space on that, I guess. And it's less scalable because of the 32-bit architecture. We can't assign more than, let's say, 3 to 4 gigs of memory. If we look at the next architecture, and don't ask me when this will be available, because I don't know. We get a DOM 0-like domain for different roles on XenServer. So every driver will get its own management domain, its own domain, its hidden VM. And it can be a 32-bit VM, or it can be a 64-bit VM. So eventually we will see vendors like Fusion.io being able to run their products on XenServer.
You mean like every of these red boxes are micro virtual machine?
It's a VM, a system VM. So now
everybody has his own.
It's not quite clear if that's the case. What I've seen is that they also want to do some multi-tenancy features. So if you assign a NIC, a network card to a customer, to a new tenant, you can choose to do that in a new management domain or not, even if it's the same network card and the same driver. You can make sure that you get that into a new domain, just like with storage. But I don't know really, because I haven't seen the final product, if you can say like, okay, the storage drivers go with that network drivers in that domain for that customer. I know the primary focus is tenant isolation, performance, scalability. And we all get that, but there's no final product or tech review yet. And I don't have much more information than this. This is called Project Windsor. I have seen a real early alpha a couple of years ago, so I would have expected it to be there right now, but it's not, and I don't know when it's coming out. I know that there are a couple of hardware vendors who need 64-bit drivers who are saying that they are supporting XenServer at the end of this year. So maybe that says something about the release date. I don't have much more information than this. What I hear a lot as well is that XenServer is dead and Citrix stopped working on XenServer. And I don't think that's the case because they need XenServer at least for their FTX line on Netscaler. Because the Netscaler platform only runs on XenServer with virtual Netscalers and range repeaters. And they need it for their cloud platform product. So I don't think it's that. I think the focus has shifted from end user computing to cloud. So before we go to the, I have 5 minutes before I go to the demo part of my presentation. So I won't be going back to slides after the demos. So if you have any questions now about XenServer or what we discussed, we have a couple of minutes. That's easy. What I will be showing in the demos, and I hope that everything works. I share nothing like migration. We have seen it on Hypervisor, we have seen it on VMware. I just want to show it on XenServer. It works pretty good, I think. XenServer web self-service. It's basic self-service, but it works. If you don't have too many questions about functionality, it works pretty good and easy. And what I will be showing you is XenServer high availability. This is one of the main features why I like XenServer, because it's really easy to do disaster recovery. The only thing you need is a metadata file, so the backup of what VMs do I have, what kind of storage do they have, and what's my configuration, and the storage itself. Of course, you need to have virtual hard disk to boot your VM. There are 4 lines of defense, like I call them. The first one is VM based, which means your VM crashes, don't boot anymore, you lose it, whatever. We can make automated snapshots. Are you just stretching? Okay. We can make automated backups with snapshot technology, so XenServer will automate the copy of a snapshot to an NFS disk. The second line of defense is host-based, so we can make XenServer clusters. It's in the free version as well. So one host fails, and you can boot your VMs on another host. The third line of defense is cluster-based. You lose a complete cluster. If you have made sure that you back up your cluster metadata, you can just import it on a new XenServer, make sure your storage is there, and you can boot up your VMs. That's in the free version as well, it's quite easy. Third line of defense is we lose a complete site. Fire, plane crash, whatever. This is functionality that's in the Platinum version. What we need is a logical volume, so no NFS. This is where we place the VM data and the virtual hard disk. We need to replicate that storage from one side to the other. XenServer does not help you on that. It will just rely on your storage architecture like NetApp or EMC to copy your data to the other side. We need a XenServer with the same version and patch levels on the other side where we're going to restore the data. It can be different hardware, that's no problem. If you have 5 hosts on your primary side and 3 hosts from another vendor on the other side, it will just work, as long as you have the same XenServer version and patch level. And let's do it. And let's see if it works. about time Alex is going to buy some retina beam. Okay, is this clear?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just start up a ping to my demo VM. So if you look at my lab, I have one physical host, and on that physical host I'm running virtual XenServer. On a virtual XenServer I can only run virtual Linux versions and no Windows. But for this demo I only need the VMs to respond to a ping reply, or a ping request. I will start with a shared nothing local or shared nothing like migration. So this VM is running on local storage on XenServer 1. So the easiest thing to do now is to move the VM to another host in the same cluster on different storage. But I think it's cooler to do it to a completely different cluster. So this is the first cluster, and this is the second cluster. And this is quite easy. You just drag the VM to another host in the same cluster or in another cluster. Just make sure the networking is the same, so you can reach your VM. We select the storage on which we're going to place the VM. And then it's just next, finish. You will see the icon change, and now it's copying the VM to the other cluster. What it's actually doing now is, it will take a couple of minutes, I think 2 minutes, is first it will copy the VM to the other location, so the virtual hard disk. When it's there, it will start, how do you call it?
Synchronize?
Yeah, it will keep it synchronized, point the VM on the first host where it was to the hard disk on the other host, and then start a normal Xen motion, and then it will eventually run on the other host. You really have to just wait for this.
Is it available in the free version?
This is not available in the free version. It is available in, if you look at the website, there's an advanced enterprise platinum version of XenServer. I think it's an advanced or enterprise.
I mean it's enterprise.
But if you have Xen Desktop, you have the XenServer Xen Desktop edition. And then some of the paid versions are integrated because it's for VDI. This works great because you want to use local storage. And you can still do some work in migrated servers or VMs. Should be dropping one thing now. It was a bit faster.
I saw 121 milliseconds one time.
Yeah, but that's my own number. It's not enterprise. Great stuff. So. Let's wait for 10 seconds and I'll have to just continue. Okay, now we got one request timed out, and the VM moved to the cluster to the different cluster. This is quite easy, and I can imagine if you have a really good storage network that this will go a lot faster than at my house. I will move it back. I don't be worried that I'm going to wait. So I'm now migrating it back to the first cluster. I don't assign my own server, and I can select the iSCSI storage that's there. So now that it's migrating, we'll not wait for that. I'll show you the web self-service. This is actually quite easy because it uses the domain connection the host has for delegation. So it uses the same users and administrators that XenServer itself is using for delegation control. Here we see that we have one VM, and I can just share it with users that can log on and manage that VM, open a web console. Unfortunately, Windows 2012 is talking Java, so I try to manage it. Yeah. But you can also manage it if you install the correct Java version. So what will happen if I log on with one user and I have a shared VM? Select another user. Okay, and here's a user and he sees the VM and you can perform power management functions, you can manage the console. So this is great for application administrators who want to give access to only the VMs and not the XenServer console, XenServer console. So this is web self-service. Any questions about it?
Which version is that in?
I need to check that. If it's in, you mean like advanced enterprise platform? I think it's an advanced feature, but I can check it. You can also do this is kind of lame, because you expect to do a VM request, but I can enter that here, but it's just a message. So the administrator logs on and he sees, hey, new VM request, and then you can't do anything with it. You can't even reply to it. So it's, yeah, it's there, but I don't think it's really working. Okay, now for the high availability part, if we look at the first options, we can create a VM protection policy, and this is a schedule for copying certain VMs to a NFS share. So it will just create a daily snapshot, copies it to a NFS disk, and if something happens to the VM, let's take one copy. I can just go to the snapshot tab and click on View Scheduled Snapshots. Okay, now actually gone. And I can select the snapshots that we copy to the NFS share. So that's quite easy.
Is this snapshot copying Windows XenServer?
Yeah.
Take a quick share?
Yeah. Yes. I didn't know, but yes.
I don't know what why you're asking, but yes, good.
And it doesn't have to be an MFS here, it can also be 6 here. So just a Windows here somewhere with a PC disk, for example.
Yeah, it can be SMB as well.
Yeah.
Okay, if we look at clustering, yeah, we know that from VMware Hyper-V, it really is just the same with a different name. We add some hosts to a cluster, and when something happens to a VM, you can start it on another host. If you want to automate that, you can enable H8. This is a... Oh, I wrote it down. I think this is an advanced feature. You need to create a metadata for the H8 to work, so you need to select the storage repositories. And then you just click on what's going to happen in the host skills. Are we going to auto restart the VMs or not?
You need to change your failures a lot.
Oh yeah.
No, 0. No? You don't have backup hosts, so it doesn't work.
No, it's
They don't share the storage.
Sorry?
Maybe.
yeah, they do. I don't know why this is not working. I've tried it. I practiced it like 10 times. So I don't really know.
Try it again.
Just get one more.
Just reboot.
Don't mind. Try again.
What did you know?
Don't give up.
It's already on, baby.
No, it's working. So it's just like Windows.
Just like an accountant, fiddling around with the numbers.
Okay, if I now click finish, what we will see is that on the storage we will see the state file and the metadata for HA. And if I kill one host, it will auto restart the VMs running on that host on the other host. I won't be demoing that because it will take me a long time to boot the other ones. Okay, what I want to demo next is what happens if we just kill site 1. First, I forget that every time. Need to configure disaster recovery. Like I said, I need a storage location which is LVM based, so no NFS. To store the metadata and the hard disk files. The hard disk files are already on there, so it won't take a lot of time.
The fact that you can't use NFS, most people I've spoken to said that anything but NFS kind of sucks on XenServer. They always use NFS.
Okay, then don't do disaster. Then you get blamed from your data center.
Yeah.
But I guess that's not really true because iSCSI and HVA storage just works.
Yeah, the push get that.
If it works, don't update it. Then it'll keep on working.
Yeah,
A few interesting stuff.
especially to think provisioning.
Okay, now that we enabled this, we also see the metadata for disaster recovery on the storage. And now we can just simply kill both servers on that side.
Because the master must most connection.
So both servers on side 1 are now down.
Why I don't like XenServer?
XenServer doesn't get it yet, but I will help it a bit. And now we want to try to move it to the other side. What normally would happen is that I need to go to the storage layer and activate the replication partner for that storage. But I don't have two storage systems at home, obviously. So just act like I activated the replicated storage on the other side. And we're now going to import the configuration, or we're now performing the disaster recovery to the other side. So it's just wizard driven, it's really easy. We're going to do a failover. And we need to find an iSCSI target. And now it will scan the iSCSI target for metadata and VM files, and it will give me a list of VMs.
You must use the mirroring or something.
Yeah, XenServer doesn't help on that layer. And I think that's good because if you have a NetApp or an EMC, you can just use the snapshot copies of those systems and do deduplication and make sure it's an optimal connection. Okay, now we can select the VMs you want to use on the other side, you want to restore. And we're going to start up the VMs immediately. Okay. Forgot about something. I will just not import this one. Got to move it. And click on Fill Over. It's not actually importing anything now. It's just connecting to the iSCSI target and importing the metadata, and then it should work. I've never seen this field before.
The light is did you kill your licensing?
No, I had a trial license and it ended on the 1st of June. So it would end tonight. Yeah, but the thing is, it would start and you would see the thing again. You all know how that.
Then you're.
So, any question about the HA part? No, then I'm ready. So, thank you, and I will hope that next year when I come back, everyone loves XenServer. Even Alex.
No, yes.
Run away. Okay.